What's up? It's Joe with Strictly Commerce. Inside of today's video, we're going to be going over how I lost $200,000 last year with Amazon FBA. So inside of this video, I'm going to be talking about what happened last year and why we actually lost a ton of money and almost lost pretty much everything last year while doing Amazon FBA. This is not like clickbait or any BS. This is actually how we lost a ton of money. We'll even throw some screenshots in there about where the losses came from, what they were for, etc. We did end up still profiting, and it wasn't like we lost 200,000, like lost that much money because we made nothing. We just lost 200,000 from these two mistakes essentially. And we could have made that much more if we just didn't do them. But let's get into the video. Basically, what happened in short is we had way too many returns.
That's a lot of damage.
Let's take a step back from that now. And basically, we were selling in the wrong category. So rewind back to March of 2022. We opened our doors for our first warehouse on March 3rd or 4th, whatever day it was. I actually had never seen the place. Only two of my buddies went and checked it out. I saw pictures and I was like, okay, this one seems better than the other. I wasn't actually living in Jersey up until this point. I moved back here to do this again. But this was like my fourth full year of Amazon. And what ended up happening was we opened the doors and we went full-fledged RA, heavily in Nike, Adidas, Reebok, and like brands like that, some Under Armour too. Now, what really ended up happening is we were probably selling like 50, 60K a month before we got the warehouse, but I had like savings saved up to kind of do it. And I also had a ton of experience with this stuff and it just kind of was good timing. And so when we opened the doors here, we basically went full-fledged RA. I'm talking, we were going to Nike outlets 4 to 5 days a week with like 3, 4, 5 people, a truck, a trailer, box trucks, vans, you name it, we did it. We can throw some screenshots in from like everything that was going on last year. On our best month last year, we sold just under $400,000 worth of strictly just Nike and Adidas shoes and clothes. Now, what you don't realize is when you start compounding with these types of models, you actually don't see all the returns hit until much later on. So like I saw the returns go up month 1, we probably sold 100K. Month 2 was like 150 to 200. Month 3 or 4, we were starting to push that like 250 to 300 point. And what happened was a lot of the returns ended up actually hitting later on that, like that 3rd, 4th, 5th month when we started doing a lot more volume. Now, what ended up happening with that is with these categories like shoes, clothes, and apparel, you will end up getting a 15 to 20% of your revenue return rate. What this means is you're going to lose pretty much all that money. Unless you have a place to sell them like eBay, like sending them back to the stores, like sending them back to Amazon, which doesn't really work, nor are any of those bulletproof, you will start to lose a ton of money from these returns because what people will do, the worst case we had was somebody sent back a pair of cleats with mud, dirt, and grass. So they basically ordered our cleats, wore them for like a month, then sent them back to Amazon. The Amazon employees don't really check to whether the returns are good or not. And then you as the seller, or in this case, us, are beat on that buy cost. So what you don't realize when you're selling in these categories is it looks great. You're making 20, 30 bucks profit per unit in some cases on some shoes. Yeah, that's all good when you look at it that way. But if you think about it, if you're spending $100 to make 20 bucks, let's say, at a 20% margin, that's pretty good. But let's say you're spending 100 bucks to make that 20, one return negates 5 items of profit. So for every one return you have with those numbers, you have to do 5 profitable sales just to break even on that because you're losing your entire buy cost. That's a lot. And we did not make it almost because of that. So come like July and August of 2022, we ended up getting a cease and desist from Adidas, which ended up being fake. That was a waste of $1,000 to have an attorney look at it.
Come on, man.
And we had probably 20 to 30,000 a month in returns, even though we were making 20 to 30,000 profit after those returns. That's like half of your profit that just goes straight to returns. It's a lot of money. It ended up being a lot of work and even more profit than I thought because we actually spent all the money to ship those inventory in, to go and buy them, to prep them, to box them, to tape them, to label them, everything. And then, yeah, you lose your buy cost, but you also lose all that time and labor and money and everything. It ends up being a lot more than you think. And that's how we really almost lost everything last year, was because we didn't make that realization, or really I didn't make that realization early enough that this wasn't sustainable, what we were doing, having 4 or 5 guys go to Nike every day and it just ended up not working. This is why I say RA isn't that good or really isn't good. You want to stay away from those categories and go into more health and household, beauty and grocery, because we almost lost everything just because of the returns from Nike and Adidas. Additionally, the second way that we lost a ton of money last year was the way we shipped our inventory in. Being the kind of naive and the way I was, we were just sending everything in giant U-Haul boxes, SPD, into Amazon, and we were paying more than 25 to 40 cents per pound to send to some of the warehouses because shoes don't go to the same warehouses. They go a little bit further. But anyway, we could have been shipping with LTL and probably saved 50% on shipping. So if we spent, let's say, $20,000 to $30,000 last year on shipping, we probably could have spent half if we did it through LTL or FTL. I didn't know how to do it, nor had the time to learn, and we could have saved so much more money and made so much more money had we done that and gotten those faster check-in times. So even after all these losses, we still turned roughly like a 22% or like 19 to 20% ROI last year, which was pretty decent, net. But at the end of the day, we could have done so much more, and if we would have been doing OA, wholesale, beauty, grocery, health and household products, we would have made so much more money and probably spent way less money on labor, payroll, boxes, polybags, everything, and shipping, and made more off of spending less, which would have been much better.
You just blew my mind.
So my recommendation for you guys is definitely stay away from apparel, stay away from shoes. Yes, you can make 20 bucks a pair, but you're never going to net that much. And anybody that tells you that they're making that much money off those shoes, they're most likely kind of full of shit because they're not really turning that much after the returns. And even if they're having those numbers after those returns, the amount of time that they spend getting rid of those returns or figuring out what to do or even going to acquire the products that will end up getting returned is way less profit than you think. You just don't realize it until you switch over to the other side and start doing something different to really start to make some money and generate income and not play the game of like fighting the return rate on Amazon. Stay away from apparel, shoes, clothes, and electronics. All the high return categories, stay away. People scam the return policy. That's how Amazon got so big, because they have an awesome return policy for customers, and you need to stay away for sure. Do whatever you can to get as little returns as you can, because returns are the worst part of all e-commerce businesses. So that wraps up today's video of how we lost over $200,000 on Amazon FBA just last year in 2022. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned from my mistakes so you don't have to waste as much money and time as I did, and thank you for your business.